Okay, right, everybody.
So here's the thing.
Here's the thing, right? So, as we said at the start of the year, like we want to play more games together on the channel. Because we loved playing Dead Belt last year. We had a couple of other things we wanted to play, and we thought, you know what, why not do it? Well, for we've been threatening it for a while, but for June's episode of the Ironsworn guys, we actually went and did it, didn't we, Steve?
We did, and it was amazing.
It was so good. We played Lost Among the Starlit Wreckage by Seamus Connolly, and we recorded it. It was. I'd say it was emotional, Steve.
It was. I cried.
Yeah, it was grueling, wasn't it? It
Yep.
was. It was.
Yep.
It was. It started off, and it was kind of, really two characters feeling each other out and not knowing too much about each other, maybe being a little suspicious. But then after a while, they start to find some common ground. They find a bond. They find kinship. Dare I say it, brotherhood, Steve.
Indeed.
Anyway, here's a clip of what the episode looks and sounds like.
And that goes away.
Oh no!
Away.
Oh no!
And 5. I don't have any 5. Oh, good. I don't have any 5s.
The 8.
Oh,
8 is bad.
The 8 is bad. Yeah, that was brutal.
So
yeah,
we've. The systems we've still got in contact with the other part. We're okay with, but we've lost contact with the other part of the ship, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's unusable. Yeah. That was a heartbreaker, wasn't it, Steve?
It really was. I mean, I don't want to claim, that it would have changed the face of actual play as we know it, but
you're not saying that either.
I'm not saying that. No, it was so much fun, and I mean, I'm sad that we are not going to be able to share that journey with all of you wonderful viewers, but I am not sad that we did it, because it was phenomenal.
Yeah,
like it was so much fun. It was such a great story, and I mean, should we just spoil the ending right up front?
Yeah, well, let's say what the game is first, and then we'll go to the end. So essentially, Steve and I played characters in Lost Among the Starlit Wreckage. Steve was a pilot called
Hush,
pilot of a giant mech, and his mech had been trashed. And I played a salvage rescuer called Yaz, who was dispatched to kind of answer the distress call and ultimately bring Hush back. And we play the game, and again, I'll throw it up on screen now. The mech and its health is represented by face-up cards laying out, and all the systems and the parts of the mech that are working or attached to its core. Represented by cards being attached to the card in the middle, the Joker, face up. And as we went, we'd turn over cards and get prompts that would inform our transmissions. We talked to each other, gave us things to talk about, gave us elements of our characters to reveal. But then piece by piece, the mech starts to slowly break up and break away, and the tension starts to slowly ratchet up. And yeah, how did that back half play out, Steve?
Well, much like our Dead Belt game, for those who watched it, it got very sparse. The passages between the different sections, and I think one of my favorite moments of it was kind of pause, because we paused. You go for 10 rounds. And if you survived to 10 rounds, then you get rescued. And, each round you are drawing a card to see if you can repair some of your systems. Then you have this transmission, and then you roll a die to see how many cards you draw. And I want to say you rolled a lot of 5s and 6s.
I rolled very high in this game.
So every time you roll on that last part of a round, whatever that number is, you draw that number of cards, and if there is an equivalent face card on the board, then you remove that as damage to your mech. And we were actually doing pretty well for the first half, despite kind of your fives and sixes and
Mm,
fours. I think there was only like 1-2 that got rolled through that whole game.
yeah.
Everything else was 3 and up.
Mm,
And we were kind of like, well, we've been doing this for a bit now. Like, should we just kind of like, because when you draw the Joker, because the Joker represents your power core. And so when you are going through that phase where you're assessing how much damage your mech is taking, if you draw the Joker, you lose. Your ship explodes, your mech explodes.
done.
And we played with a rule, like an optional rule in the system that essentially, if we drew the Joker in the first 5 rounds,
Yeah.
then we just shuffle it back into the deck and keep playing so that we could kind of get a little bit of the story out there. And I think it was like round 6 or 7. We're like, all right, like these things are going pretty well. Should we like put our hand on the scale a little bit and uh, you know, play to having that Joker come out and just really like turn this into a tragedy. And we talked about it for a minute, and then we decided, let's just see how it plays out, just
Because the
as the
rescue
cards
suddenly
draw.
became really interesting, didn't it? And really
It did.
meaningful.
Yeah. And like we had built these interactions where I desperately wanted Yaz to arrive in time to save Hush. And so we decided, well, let's just see how the game plays out. And in the ninth round or the eighth round, uh, we just blew off the top half of the mech. It was real bad. Just whole section went off, and it's like, well, and I kept getting these cards that would repair the bottom section, where I was like, okay, I can keep this safe for a moment. And then we got to the last round, the very last round number 10. And if we had completed that final phase, because it's the last phase.
I'd made visual contact with the mech as well. I could see
Yes.
you in the cockpit pretty much.
Yep. And Matt, do you remember what you rolled?
I can't, but it wasn't good. It was a 5 or a 6, I thought.
I remember what it was. It was a 5.
Okay, yeah.
So I drew 5 cards and revealing them one at a time. And wouldn't you know it, the fates decided for us. The last card, the last card between salvation and destruction was the Joker. And we had the opportunity to narrate this beautiful moment as Hush had this, not even necessarily knowing that it was about to happen, this one final transmission that gets cut off as the mech explodes. And then, I mean, what happened to Yaz?
So Yaz, we established as we were going that you were caught in a firefight in the orbit of a planet that I'd been to before and needed rescuing from, and I'd lost my old partner somewhere down in the snow-capped peaks of this desolate ice world that you were fighting above. And as I got close enough to almost dock with the mech to rescue you, I was blown out of the sky and found myself plummeting to death in a fireball in those snowy peaks where I'd had to be rescued from all those years ago. As you can see, just from that little snippet, like, we got quite a lot into our backstories and what our characters were about, and I was genuinely invested in finding you by the end, because when we started playing it, I was like, I just want the mech to blow up, and I just want it to be like, this thing. But I didn't expect to be so drawn in by it, and I think that speaks volumes to how committed we both were to playing it that way, but also just how good the system is. So the system is perfect for for someone like who has the same kind of gaming proclivities as me, in that like the prompts are very vague but also very evocative, and they allow you to ask questions of each other, and they allow you to fill in a lot of the blanks yourselves. And I really liked it when we first started. My guy, we established him as being like a salvage operator, essentially picks the
Hmm.
battlefield clean. And I think we established, like, I was really suspicious of you, and I didn't want to enter that kind of basically a war zone, and not I didn't want to be ambushed or caught in a crossfire. And then we had this real kind of standoffish nature at the start, and then just piece by piece it kind of fell into you have to believe us.
Yeah.
Everyone, this did happen, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, piece by piece this story just kind of came together. And I thought it was like a really remarkable experience. And
Yeah.
you know, if the bit of footage survived from the end where we pull the card, like, our reactions are real, about how that felt to be so close and to have it ripped away at the last second.
Yeah.
And yeah, I kind of really wanted to talk about this game, even though we're not going to get to share with you. And the thing is, as well, we both knew straight away when I contacted you, like 2 days. In fact, Steve, this is me telling you live on air. I found out like an hour later, but I just didn't have the heart to tell you, because you'd messaged me and said, "Man, that was amazing," and I was like, "Yeah, I agree." And I was like, "Oh my god, I'm gonna have to tell Steve that this is corrupted." But the thing is, as soon as I told you, like, we never thought, let's re-record this, because I felt like we just couldn't capture that
Yeah.
again straight away, because it was a real in the moment lightning in a bottle type thing.
Yeah.
I'm not saying like it was, a lost, a great lost album or something, just
Changed the face of
of
actual
actual
play.
play. I'm saying for me and Steve, it was just a
Yeah.
really beautiful game that would, like, I absolutely like adored playing with you.
Yeah. Yeah. I agreed. And that, I think you're absolutely right in that it was like, it was heartbreaking, but also it like, I'm gonna need some time, like, to mourn
Mm.
before I even think about cracking open the, cockpit of a mech again. And it was really cool. And I think this does speak to the system, but also it speaks to coming to a game like this with a sense of openness and willingness to kind of explore this. Apparently I've been watching a lot of like actor interviews and stuff like that. Explore the space and just,
Mm. Peel the
feel like
onion,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, it just, yeah. So but it really does have that vagueness to it, which does allow for a very fluid uh set of interactions. And you're absolutely right. I mean, we started that in that first round of, you were like, well, what side are you on? And I'm like, I don't want to tell you, because I'm afraid you're not going to come get me if I tell you the wrong side. And
And we hadn't
you know
established any sides or written any lore about what this war was about or anything.
no.
But this is one thing that I thought about since we played, Steve. You absolutely could do that if you wanted to. Like, you could
Yeah.
take this as far as you wanted. And it's a solo or co-op game, or sorry, solo or duet game. And you can go into as much detail as you want, especially if you're
Yeah.
solo and journaling it. You can take this to whatever degree you want, because there was an element about of Dead Belt, which I mean, it's hard not to compare the two together, about spaceships coming apart but represented by a deck of cards.
Yep.
um but Dead Belt felt more a bit like a board game, didn't it? There was not
It
really
did.
that much role play involved, and the role play that we did, we inserted that into it. That's not anywhere in the text. That's just
Yeah.
something that we've kind of brought to it. But here, it's like the focus is all on the characters and all on their situation, and
Yeah.
all on their plight. And I thought that the way it generated tension as bits of the mech came away, and what was really cool is that, like, you would fix stuff, and when
Yep.
you draw that card in the next round, it doesn't remove that part; it removes the thing you fixed. And we had like 3 rounds where you were just continuously fixing this one part, and then
Yeah.
the next round would just strip that repair away, and you'd be like, the alarms would be blaring again. You have to do it. I think there was that 3 rounds we lost like the right shoulder. We nearly lost the right shoulder of the ship like 3 times. And
Yep.
I just felt every time you fixed it again, I was like, all right, okay, we don't have to worry about that again. And then the other bit came off, and then
Yeah.
by the end, it was like Steve said, it was just a little pair of legs in space floating around with you in the crotch, ready to be rescued.
It's just so ready to be rescued.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I
And
go on.
I would agree. Like the way that the card system works, and the way that you step through the phases where you draw one card, you just get one card to repair, and you've got to match up with the suit. And if you match the suit, then you can repair that section. So you basically like cover over it with this other card. But if when you get to that phase where you're drawing cards to see what damage happens this round, if that face number comes up, you have to take the repair first. You can't pick something else.
Mm,
And yeah, just having that tension of that give and take of like, it's repaired, no it's not, it's repaired, no it's not. And then that was the thing, like we didn't get a chance, or like we kept repairing one piece, but the piece that was actually connected to the core is the thing that I eventually drew the card that removed, and it was suddenly that whole section was just gone. And I definitely, like, I felt this intense sense of foreboding
mm,
of like, I think my luck has run out
yeah.
on repairing and fixing these things. And yeah, it was great. Well done.
It was really good. You can pick up Lost Among the Starlit Wreckage at a very reasonable price. You'll find links to that down below. We both heartily recommend this game. We think it's wonderful. But the most important thing about this entire affair, Steve, is we've got a list, and it's up on screen now, of 12 games we've got to play, and I can finally say, for a long time since checking one off, we are 4 of 12 down. The score technically is Steve 3, Matt 2. But who's going to remember that at the end of the year? Certainly not me. Although, no, hang on, we have to do an episode talking about how well we did. But yeah, we're really sorry that you don't get to see the game that we played, because it was really fun. One day, maybe when we're over the loss of Hush and Yaz, then we might do it again. But now it's too raw. But yeah, check it out, play it yourselves, and tell us what you think. But yeah, let's hope Wraithhound works when we play that. But yeah,
Yep.
Cool. Right, thanks everyone. Bye, Steve.
See ya.